Okay. So everyone, welcome to Kailul Kol Shira in partners with Breslov.org and of course Yeshiva Tera Shimon. Okay. So we have a double parsha this week. It's a pretty heavy duty parshas. We have Tazria-Metzora. Okay. Last year they were separate. This year they're together. Most years they are together. A lot of material in both parshas. There's a lot written on Metzora. What is a Metzora? What is tzaras? What causes tzaras? And all the different things. We're going to see many different things. Meretz Hashem. But right now in Eretz Yisrael we are dealing with a tremendous issue. I don't know if you heard, but there's a big sreifa going on, a big fire going on right now. And this seems to be the worst one that we've experienced now in a very, very long time. And there are villages that are being evacuated. And we're going to try to host some people. We have some places here in Eretz Yisrael, Meretz Hashem. But there's also a tefillah that I'd like to start off with now for the firefighters that are really risking their lives for the goodness of the people, for the goodness of the land. So the tefillah starts off like this: tefillah l'shleim loichmei ha'esh. Okay, so. It used to be they were called kiboy eish, and there was a lot of talk in Eretz Yisrael that it didn't sound right that they were just called they put out fires, So they changed their title to loichmei eish. They're firefighters, right? So that's what they're called now. So we say that the tefillah goes like this: Rebbeinu Shalom, Ata Asher Barosa Eish Uvamayim. You that created water and fire. Or v'choshech, you created light and darkness. And you, Hashem, control all of the arba yesaydes, the four foundations of creation. Ana shemar al shiluchecha hanemonim. Please protect our messengers that are being sent. Who are they? Loichmei ha'esh, the firefighters of Eretz Yisrael. Hanichnosim el lahavos. They're going into the big blazing fires, lahatzel nafshes urechush, to save souls and to save villages and to save things. People were on Highway 1, and the fire. My wife showed me a video that the fire was so strong that and the smoke was so thick. People had to abandon their cars on the highway. They were abandoning their cars on the highway and running because this is a wow. Okay, so Rechush. Umekayim mitzvahs loy samoid al dam reyacha. They're being mekayim the mitzvah. That's why this tefillah is so important. Don't stand by your friend's blood. In other words, don't just turn a blind eye. Ana Hashem, kein bahem koyach ugvura lamay b'fnei ha'esh. Give them the mercy, give them the power and the might in order for them to stand up to the fire. Chachma tfuna, they should have wisdom and they should have discernment, understanding. Lekabel hachlotas nechaynos bizman emes, that they could take on their mission. Their mission, their correct mission in a proper time, in a truthful way. They should do it in a speedy way, to arrive in a speedy way to the sakana, to the danger. Shemar al gufam mikol pega v'nezek. Protect their bodies, protect their physical bodies from any harm and any damage. Me kiviyos ume ashan ume kis riyos mevinim, and save them from smoke inhalation and all kind of things. Save them from what they're doing. Chazik al yedei loich me'a'ish hamisura ma'olchim el mula sakona kidei lahatzel acherim. Protect those that are fighting the fire. They're moisture. They're giving above and beyond what they need to do. Haholchem el mula sakon. They're going right into the eye of the problem. Kidei lahatzel acherim, in order to save others. Tein bahem oimitz va'ali yira levavim. Give them strength, might. Give them courage, and don't weaken their hearts. Kayem bahem esanema ki selech b'moi. Eish loy tikaver ulahava loy sevar boch. Ana Hashem sayi v'yodam lagia bizman l'chabes ha'etz b'meiras. Come, give them assistance. Give them a heavenly assistance. They should come to them in the proper time in order for them to extinguish the fire in a speedy way. Lahatzal nafshois ulaminaya nezek, and to save lives and to prevent damage. Give them give them the help that they need in order for them to stand up to what they're doing day and night. When it's hot and it's in the morning, in the days of emergency, protect them the way they protect others. Such a beautiful tefillah. What? Protect them when they go out and when they come home. Bring them back with peace, complete, whole, into their homes, to their families. V'kayim bahem esakosav Hashem yishma tzeischa v'yecha me'ata v'yadoylam yi l'rotzin imri fi v'hegen libi l'fenecha Hashem tzuri v'goy ali. So that's the tefillah that we wanted to start it, because it's such a thing that to not, and I feel that we could be standing al dam reyecha, right? If we don't feel anything, if we don't feel and to even daven and feel the pain for what they're going through. Right? I mean, so that was a very important thing. Now, this really ties into the parsha, right? What does the nega of tzaras come from? So we all know it comes from lashon hara, right? Lashon hara rechilas, right? Lashon hara rechilas. Now we're going to see some amazing things. We're going to discuss why is the parsha of tzaras right after last week's parsha Shmini, where we ended off with the animals and birds and fish, what was kosher, what wasn't kosher, and we're going to see why that was such an important thing, that the animals and the birds and the fish came before, the same way in creation, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu created first all the animals and the whole creation, and only on the sixth day did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create Adam and Chava, right? Man was created only on the sixth day, right? That's one other thing. Then we're going to see also, we're going to talk about in the parsha of, we have tzaras that's on people, we have tzaras that's on begodim, right? On a beged, right? There can also be a tzaras that's on a house. Isn't that amazing? The house can have tzaras. Now we know that for the 40 years we were in the desert, and we were traveling in the desert, the Canaanim and the 7 nations that were here in Eretz Yisrael were hiding their jewelry. They were hiding gold and silver and treasures in the walls of their homes. In the walls of their homes. Now, there's a very big question asked. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu would bring the tzaras for them to find the treasure that was inside the wall. But can I ask you a question? Wouldn't it have been better if Hashem just gave them the treasure? Why did they go through the whole tzaras process? Right? So that brings something, a very important thing to talk about for a moment. Okay? Many times, we have the opportunity to give encouragement to somebody. We have the opportunity to give someone encouragement, to tell somebody, I saw the way you davened today was so good. You gave me a lot of chizuk. Oh, I saw the way you were learning. Oh, you have a beautiful tie. You have a beautiful tie. Oh, I love your suit. Anything. We can give people words of encouragement, but sometimes we don't do that. Sometimes we don't do that. And instead what we're doing is we're looking for negativities, right? But really, inside of everybody, there are always treasures. There are always treasures. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing us like this. Look, on the outside, look, you have a negatzaras. But on the inside, look how delightful it is. You have the treasure in there. So we should look at people in that way. We should look at people in the way of goodness. Find the Nekuda Taiva in somebody else. That's the Rebbe's Torah Zamra, which is in Reish Pei Beis, lesson 282. It's a very important lesson that we always have to find the Nekuda Taiva in somebody else. Don't look at somebody in a way that's demeaning. We should never do that. We should always look for somebody, for the goodness in the other person. The Rebbe speaks about that in, Pirkei Avos. We're learning Pirkei Avos now, right? So Pirkei Avos, the Mishnah says, Al toden es chavercha ad shetigia lemikoymai. Don't judge your friend until you come to his place. Until you come to his place. Now, let me ask you a question. Do we really ever know ourselves? How much of ourselves do we really know? And how much of ourselves do we really understand? So how is it possible, if I can't really even understand myself, I'm going to judge somebody else? And I'm going to understand the parameters of their life? Do I understand the circumstances of somebody else's life? I mean, we don't even know it sometimes in our families with our own children. Right? Sometimes with our spouses, we don't understand what's going on. With our children, we don't understand what's going on. So when it comes to somebody else, I'm gonna say I can understand and I'm gonna judge them. And that's why I believe the Mishnah says, Al ti'ad shetiagia limikomo, until you come to his place. And it's impossible for anyone to come into anyone else's place. Therefore, don't judge them. Don't judge them. And if you're gonna judge them favorably. Judge them favorably. That's what the Rebbe says. Find the Nekuda Taiva. Find the good side in everybody, because there is good in everybody. Okay? That's a very, very, very important lesson. That's enough to learn right there. Just to understand that. Instead of, we always say that the Mida Taiva is Meruba. Right? Mida Taiva is always Meruba. What does that mean? Mida Taiva is Meruba. We can use our mouths, we can talk, and sometimes, like the Chavetz Chaim says, we talk lashon hara, we talk rechilas, avak lashon hara, right? There's so many different levels of lashon hara. But at the same time, we can be very careful what we're saying. We can be very, 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 very careful what we're saying. And we should be very careful about what lashon hara is and what we're saying to somebody else, because those words are so damaging, so damaging. The Chavetz Chaim says so important that we should really understand that. We have in Shemayim, we have the prosecuting angel, right? There's a prosecuting angel. And the prosecuting angel likes to prosecute against every single one of us. But where does the prosecuting angel get his words from? Where does he get his words to build his case against each and every one of us? You know what words he uses? He uses the words of lashon hara that the person spoke. If the person spoke words of lashon hara, he could take those words, he can put them in a bag, he can scramble them up, like you play the game of Scrabble, right? He can scramble up the letters, and he can make the words and use those same words, those letters, to build a case against each individual. So the Chavetz Chaim says, if we're very careful about what we're saying about somebody else, if we're very careful about that, we're protecting ourselves. We're protecting ourselves the same way the Torah is telling you. If you speak lashon hara, you're going to get the negatzaras. The negatzaras, which means you're going to be cut, you're going to be sent out, to be all alone. You're going to be sent out to be all alone. Now, they have to be sent away for 7 days, right? The prescription was for 7 days. Why was it specifically for 7 days? 7 days because within 7 days, you always pass a Shabbos. Right? Within 7 days, you always have a Shabbos. There's always a Shabbos within every 7 days, where the person will think. Now, nega is the same words as oneg. Oneg means to delight in the Shabbos. Oneg is the same letters as nega. So I'm giving you an example how you could switch a letter, how the prosecuting angel uses our words. Take the word oneg, and you could make the word nega. Nega can be oneg, right? Now, if a person has oneg Shabbos, if he has a real oneg Shabbos, he could turn the nega. He can go from the nega. He can come to make it into the oneg of Shabbos. That's why Shabbos is so important. Shabbos is so important. It says that even if a person was Ovid Avodah Zarah Kedar Enosh, and he's me'aning the Shabbos, Meichlin Lo Yakol Avonoisa. He gets forgiveness for all his sins if he has Einik Shabbos. Einik Shabbos. What does that mean, Einik Shabbos? That means the person delights when Shabbos comes in. And he's waiting with bated breath when is Shabbos coming in. And he sings the L'chadoidi, and he welcomes in the Shabbos queen. He's welcoming in the queen, and he comes home and he makes the Kiddush, and he's testifying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in Sheshis Yemei Bereshis. Then 6 days, and on the 7th day Hashem rested. Making that Kiddush, Chazal tell us that he becomes shutfim, he becomes partners with the Rabbeinu Shalom in creation. In creation. That's why it says that a person is always supposed to have a hira tshuva. Before you make Kiddush, you're supposed to have a hira tshuva, a thought of tshuva. Why? Because I'm going to be doing testimony. So if a person is guilty, so then he's a apostle aid. He's not apostle, right? He's a apostle aid. If the person did something wrong, he did averis, he's not considered a tzaddik. And then his aid. So a person should always have a thought of tshuva before a person makes Kiddush, because they're making that testimony for that HaKadosh Baruch Hu and becoming partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Isn't that so delightful? Look how empowering Yiddishkeit is. You could be partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, the King of all kings. Unbelievable. Be partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What better partnership can a person have, and what better protection can a person have than if he's partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Okay, that's one thing, so we can understand a little bit about what is going on in the Parsha. With this, the whole idea of the tzaras. Another interesting thing is, it's a very interesting thing, we know that the tzaras was all shades of white. Right? All shades of white. Right? There are 4 different kinds of tzaras. They're all different shades. Sometimes the flesh is all white. Sometimes there's a tzaras and there's a live flesh in the middle. Sometimes there's a hair, whatever. There's all different types of tzaras. And it was the Kohen that had to make the psak on the tzaras. Only the Kohen. Not the tzaddik, not the Gadol Hadar. He had to be a Kohen, and that was the Kohen was the one that was able to say Tameh or Tor, right? It was up to the Kohen to do that. Now, when it came to the houses, though, in Parshat Tazria-Metzora, so it talks about the neged tzaras on the bayis. So there it says Adamdam, Yirakrakas, and Adamdam. It's green and red. They're green, there's shades of green and shades of red. It's very interesting. Why shades of green and shades of red? So we know that the Noitzrim, right, the Christians, what do? When it comes to their holiday, what colors are they using? Red and green. Right? Their whole holiday is based on red and green. It's just very interesting. It's very interesting that the Torah depicts for us what the neged tzaras, the colors are, and they choose those colors to glorify their holiday. Right? So the whole holiday is just a big neged tzaras. How do you like that? They don't even realize it. Okay. So that's the ideas. I just gave you in basic on the ideas of the parsha. Now we're going to see something inside. Excuse me. Okay. So let's take a look over here. I found something so nice. Here, we'll start off with the first lesson here. And this is on Tazria. Okay, so here we go. Daber al b'nei Yisrael leima isha ki Tazria v'yolda zocher. Right, a lady becomes pregnant and then she gives birth to a baby boy. Rashi says isha ki Tazria Amar Rav Simlai. Kishem sheyitzirasei shel adam acher kol behema chaya v'oif b'masei bereishis. The same way Rav Simlai says. And the same way where HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, He created first the animals, He created the wild animals, He created the birds, and He created the fish and everything else, and all of the insects also. B'masei bereishis. Kach teirosai nisfarsha achar teiros behema chaya v'oiv hamiskam b'parshas hakademis, which is in Parshat Shmini, right? So Parshat Shmini, we're first talking about the animals, which ones you can eat, which ones are you can't eat, what is considered okay, right? We said that the animal that has the split hooves and he chews the cud, that's a kosher animal. And the Torah gave us examples of animals that were not kosher. Some have the split hooves, but they don't chew their cud. For example, the chazir, right? The chazir has his split hoof, but he doesn't chew his cud. But we said that the chazir is a Baal Gaiva. He sticks out his foot, shows you, see, I'm kosher. See, look at my foot, but you can't see on the inside. You don't see it on the inside, right? Okay. Now, so therefore, that must go. Now, Amar HaChassam Sofer, the Holy Chassam Sofer, he brings down the Holy Chassam Sofer. Al yechshav ha'adam shimhu noitze bebriya acha behema chaya v'oif b'yoyim hashishi sheyachal is goys v'lishleit ala briya. Person shouldn't think, hey, I was created after everything else, so I could be shoylet, I could control the briya. V'yachal lifreis gidorim lasais ma shali b'chafetz, and he can break and do whatever he wants because he's in charge. You would think. Al came ba Torah miyad la'acha yitziras adam haskara es tumasai she'imhu midaber lashon hara. After he was created, after he was created, if he's going to be a person that's going to choose to speak negative about somebody else, why would a person think about speaking lashon hara about somebody else? Do you have any idea? Why? What causes that? It's all about gaiva. Insecurity. A person feels insecurity in themselves. They feel insecurity, so they feel, if I put the other one down, I'm raising myself up. That's what lashon hara is, right? Think about it. What's lashon hara? You talk about negative about somebody else. Obviously, it's somebody that you know, and you're showing he's no good, I'm better. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I can live with everybody, but I can't live with a Baal Gaiva. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not like a Baal Gaiva. Like they used to say, this town ain't big enough for the two of us, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you're here, you're kicking me out. I'm not going to be here with you. That's an amazing idea, right? To understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says he doesn't accept the Baal Gaiva. Now, this guy over here, Shemu who medaber lashon hara, who gerua yoisem mibalei chayim. He's lower than all of the other animals. He's lower than all of the insects. He's lower than them. Shekein balei chayim ein lahem tumah b'chayayim. A Baal Chai, an animal, a cow, a goat, a sheep, doesn't come impure while it's alive. There's no such a thing as impurity by an animal when it's alive. But in a person can become impure. A man can become impure. Very interesting. The Chassam Sofer is amazing to understand this. He does. If a person has tzaras, he has to go out of the three camps. He has to go out of camp, all the three camps, and he cannot be amongst Jews. He can't be amongst anyone else. Not only that, did you know if two people had tzaras, they could not be together either. They had to sit It's solitary. They could not be together. It wasn't like when we had people who had COVID, right? In those times, they would put them in a hotel together, right? And they would all be able to congregate together because they all had COVID, so they were able to be together, right? When it came to tzaras, everyone had to be by themselves. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted them to think, look what you did. You spoke negative about one of my people. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, we are the Am HaNivchar. We are the chosen nation. And every single Jew is special to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you spoke negatively about one of my people? You have to stay alone. You have to stay alone. Unbelievable. Machanais v'tumasai chamura, and he has a very, very strong level of tumah. He doesn't have just a little bit of tumah. That's a lot of tumah. That's a very high level, a high potency of tumah, of impurity. Va'afilu nevelis behema ene metame rak b'masa u'b'maga. If you have a dead animal, right? A dead animal is not going to make you, if you don't walk over to it, you don't touch it, you don't carry it, you don't do anything to it, it doesn't matter. It's not going to make you impure. The dead animal. So the animal, while it's alive, he doesn't make a person impure. Right? He's not impure himself. The animal is not impure by itself. But when the animal dies, so yes, there's a tumah on the animal, but the tumah doesn't extend past the animal. It's on the goof of the animal itself, the dead carcass of the goof. So if the person walks over and touches the carcass, if the person walks over and he moves the carcass, then he becomes impure. Ilu adam meis metame afilu ba'ayel. Wait a minute. Now, wait a second. Now there's a yid that dies, and he's in the tent, he's in his house. Now everyone that walks into that house becomes impure. Wait a minute. So that means the level of tumah of the person is higher than that of any animal. If the animal is dead in the barn, if there's an animal that died in the barn and you walked into the barn, you don't become impure. But if the farmer died in the barn and you walked into that barn, he's lying there dead next to the animal. Now everyone becomes impure that's in that barn. Is that amazing? That's amazing to think about. The animal will not extend its impurity past someone touching it and dealing with it. But it's not mitame, the oil itself, the airspace. Vilu adam meis mitame afilu bayav ala adam lahasim neged einav sheyesh biyada yes koyach habechira. We have to understand that we have the koyach habechira. We have free choice. We don't have to give in to the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara drives a person crazy. The Yetzer Hara makes it it's such juicy information. I need to tell someone about what I just heard. I just saw this. Oh wow, I got to tell everybody. Right? It's a big Yetzer Hara. Do you realize when you have that, the Yetzer Hara is just doing that so he can prepare the case against you. That's all he's trying to do. He makes it seem so delightful. He makes it seem so delicious. I have to do this. But really, what are you doing? You're preparing the case against yourself. Unbelievable when you understand the words of the tzaddikim. The way that tzaddikim teach us, it's like nothing. Ein l'shaya. To have emunah in the tzaddikim, to have emunah in the teachings of the tzaddikim that help us get us closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But we have bechira. HaKadosh Baruch Hu insists that there is bechira. So much so that even when it came to the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, Adam and Chava had to have bechira there. That's why he put the Nachash HaKadmaini there, so they should be challenged. If a person's not challenged, he doesn't have the Yetzer Hara. He doesn't have that Koyach HaBechira. So then he's no different than a Malach. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted us to be different and higher. We have the ability to rise much higher than the Malachim. How? Through our Bechira, through our free choice. Ukishem sheyochel la'aleis mala lis'aleis yoisim imalachei hashares. And then the same way a person can rise up levels, and he can rise up higher than all the malachim and the srafim and the eifanim. He can rise up much higher than all of them. He can ascend much higher than them. Aha, but he says, Chas v'sholem, yochel gam l'redes. He can also descend. In the same way we can ascend so high, a person can also descend l'redes mata, all the way to the down and to the shol tachtias, to the lowest places. And it's upon us to make the decision. It's upon us to make the decision, and that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu insists, and that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it in this way that the tzaras works like this. Now, let's move on to another idea. Here we go. Here we go. Here, let's talk about this idea. I touched upon this before. Isha ki tazria v'yolda zachar v'toma shivas yamim. Okay, so the Torah says that a lady that gives birth to a baby boy, minat Torah, she's impure for 7 days. Okay. Dorish Harava Kodesh Rav Yisrael Salanta. The holy Rav Yisrael Salanta says like this: Lama nismecha Parshat Tazria sheroiv ruba inyane negoyim u'mitzayrim leParshat Shmini sheroiv ruba inyane macholes asuras. Right? Okay, let's go. He's making a connection here. Last week's Parsha is called Parshat Shmini, but now we discussed Parshat Shmini. It was the 8th day of the inauguration. It was the first day of the which was the 8th day. They were first the Zayin Yemei Miluim, right? There was the Zayin Yemei Miluim where Moshe Rabbeinu was putting up the Mishkan, doing the avoda. At night he was taking down the Mishkan, and he built it again each day for 7 days. On the 8th day, which was Rosh Chodesh Nisan, that's when the Mishkan officially was inaugurated, right? And then we had the whole process of the inauguration. But that was only a little part of the Parsha. The rest of the Parsha is discussing about Macholes Asuras, what you can eat and what you can't eat. Why is that called Parsha Shmini? And this Parsha of Tazria, it's only a little piece of the Parsha, very small in the beginning. We talk about the lady that gives birth, and the birth and the laws of Tumah and Tahara on the lady that gives birth, but most of the parsha is talking about the tzaras. Mishum shan negoyim bayim beikar alavin lashon hara tzeyurei. Go take a look. Boy cheroi b'nei adam nizharim ba'achilas ma'choles asuras. Everyone's very, very careful what they eat. They check to see what the hechsher is. They want to make sure it's the right hechsher before they'll put something in their mouth. They be very, very careful. Bediktuk. Rav shelo yivalu chalila taylas kitana. They don't want to swallow chas v'sham a little worm. A little worm. They don't want to swallow even a little worm. Why? The Torah says if a person eats a little worm, there are over 7 different lavin. 7 different lavin from one bug, a sheretz that a person eats. He's over 7 different lavin. All right. Harei meidach. On the other hand, ein heim nizharim b'chvoidei shel azulais. They're not careful about the covet about somebody else. They're not careful. V'ish el re'eyu chayim ba'oloi mimitlois haloshen hara, and they'll swallow them up alive with the lashon hara. The same mouth is careful what he puts into the mouth, very careful what goes into the mouth, but he's not careful what goes out of the mouth. He'll swallow up a person, right? You think that the guy's so careful. Oh, I'll only eat bedatz Yerushalayim. I'll only eat the meat if it's Rav Shlomo Machfud. If it's a Yoredei, if it's Samsai, they'll be very, very careful. Very careful on what the hechsher is. It has to be glatt. But the same person's not careful. He's not careful what comes out of his mouth. V'lefichach smicha Torah parshas negoyim l'macholes asuras. And therefore, says Reb Sol Salada, that's why the Torah Kedosha put together this idea of the negoyim together with the macholes asuras. This is brilliant. It's brilliant to understand this. It's brilliant. How the Torah gives us first. It talks about macholes asuras, what's not permitted to be ingested by a person. To the same, and right next to that, you have the Parsha of Negoyim. The same way, Baruch Hashem, people are very careful of what they eat, and they were very careful what the hechsher is. We had Pesach, right? So the people won't eat kidneys, and the people won't eat gebroks, and they're very careful what the matzah is, and who has the hechsher on everything. Very, very careful what I'm going to eat. Kach tizharu bidvarim asurim. So too, we should be so careful with the words that we're not permitted to speak. Words that are not permitted to speak. Don't forget, every word that you speak of lashon hara is another word. It's a issa d'oraisa. It's an issa d'oraisa. Ad she'atem nizharim al ma shemachnisim lepeh tizharu al ma she'atem maitziyim lepeh. The same way you're careful what you enter into, what you ingest and you digest. Be careful what goes out of your mouth. Words are very, 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 very important. Okay, so that was another idea. Any questions on that? Any comments on this? No comments, no questions. Okay, very good. Okay, all right. So then we have third. Okay, so let's learn this piece over here now. We're going to move on now to here. Let's see here. We have a piece here. In Parshat Tazria-Metzora. Here we go. All right, let's go take a look at Parshat Metzora. Reb Nosson says here something very, very nice. Okay? Zois tia Torah's ha-Metzora. So the Torah, it says this is going to be the Torah, the teaching of the Metzora. Tikkun ha-Metzora shu ba'al lashon hara u'machloikis. Right? Who is the person that has lashon hara? The one that speaks the Metzoras. He's the one that speaks lashon hara, and he makes machloikis. There are some people, no matter what they do, they just have to have a machlokes. They can't have shalom. They always have to be dealing with something, with somebody. They love to pick a fight. These people are these are the people that are prone mostly to have the nega tzaras chas for shalom. They make a quarrel between a man and his friend. Bein ish le'ishtai. Sometimes people love to see when a couple is fighting. Why? We have to be more like Aaron HaKohen. What was Aaron HaKohen? Aaron HaKohen was Oyev Shalom v'Roidev Shalom. Oyev is a Makabim l'Torah. That was Aaron HaKohen. Aaron HaKohen did the exact opposite. When he saw two people were fighting, what did he do? He ran over to one fella and he said, I heard that the other guy, he feels so bad that he's arguing with you. And then we go over to the other guy and say, I heard that he feels so bad that you're arguing. They would make up and everything would be great. And he did that with husbands and wives too. He went over and he told the wife, that your husband told me that he loves you so much and he's so upset that you were fighting now. And he would go over to the wife and say, oh, your husband, he would do the same thing. Yes, you'll tell me, but it says in the Torah, don't tell a lie. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to make shalom, you can say a small white lie. To make shalom, you can make a small white lie. You can't take day and night, turn night into day, and kosher into treif, and you can't take treif and make it go. That you can't do. But you can make some small white lies in order to make the shalom because it's so important. Tikune lishtadel l'kariv nafshos l'Hashem Baruch Shayidei ze oila kivoidei yizbarach mizulasai. The galusa oila l'sharsha. You bring it back, everything, and you take it away, and you take the galus and you bring it up to the shayrish ad shal yedei nimshach shalom bichlal befrat v'nestakin machlokes, and you can fix the machlokes. By yedei in the Torah Metzora, a person can have his purity from the tzaras mitumasei, from his impurity. Hey, you know, Aaron HaKohen was also a very, 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 very humble person. Don't be a person, I'm gonna make shalom between these two people, because then they're gonna see how great I am. No, you don't do it for that reason. You make shalom because you want to have shalom. You want to be able to bring the Shechina back together. Take the Shechina from the Golus and bring the Shechina back together. The Shechina is the makeup embodiment of all Nafshos Yisrael. When it's two souls that are fighting, the Shekhinah is separated. You're separating the Shekhinah. When you make shalom, you're bringing the Shekhinah back together. Fascinating that we have the ability to do these things. If you're doing it for covet, you won't be able to bring the people back together. You won't be able to be mekarev the nefashos. Why was hara and Akayim? Why was Moshe Rabbeinu so successful in bringing back together? Because they had no covet, they had no honor for themselves. They did it all for the Rebbeinu Shalom. If you're working l'shem shemayim, if you're working l'shem shemayim and not for the covet of the individual, that person can bring people back. Says Reb Nosson here, unbelievable. Ki azayu loichal yuchal likarev and hanefoshes klal v'lo yikabel tikunai b'shleimus rak yia kol kavanasei rak b'shvil kevoid Hashem Yisbarach. And this is a cloud that we could take for everything in our lives. What we do, we want to bring more kavod shemayim into the world. It's about bringing more kavod to our Kodesh Baruch Hu in the world. It's not about one's own kavod. It's all about the kavod of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Okay, now we had the shtei tziporim, chayes tehoros, right? So what was the tikkun for the Metzora? You had to take two live birds, two dove birds, right? One bird they would slaughter, and they would take the bird and they would dip the other live bird in the blood of that bird, into that bird. Why were they birds? Because the birds also chatter a lot, right? The birds are always chattering. So the person, his problem became because he was a chatterbox. He was like a bird. So the Torah says, take a bird, and that's your tikkun for the tzaras. Take the birds, see what it is. And then we know, like it says, V'shochat oisei ayelech hamizbeach tzafon l'fnei Hashem, right? Whenever it says V'shochat oisei, a person, and a person feels, when he's saying the karbanis, that he feels HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's me that's being slaughtered. HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives the person for his sins. If a person really feels sincere, and that's what the Torah is all about, sincerity. We have to have sincerity, right? So therefore, a person should always make sure he's doing everything in a sincere way. He's bringing people closer together to make shalom, and he's trying to bring more kavod shemayim. Okay? Now let's see another piece here. There's a fascinating piece here from Reb Nosson, and this is the main point of the lesson today. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Ve'ish ki seitze v'menu shichvas zera. Zara, a person that he spilled seed. He spilled seed, right? We know that the children of Yehuda, right? The children of Yehuda, they were guilty of spilling the seed, and therefore they died. Unfortunately, well, that's the way it was then, right? You know, you got punished right away. A person got punished right away. Excuse me. Today, people do things of immorality, and they don't see the repercussion. But really, are they not seeing the repercussion? Let's see what Reb Nosson has to say. Al yedei pagama bris chas v'shalom. If a person defiles his bris kodesh, his purity, his morality, hayna shemaitzi zera levatali, he spills seed for waste. He's taking the drops from his mind. And the scientists figured out, and the scientists all know today, that really the zera comes from the mind. It really starts in the mind, and it makes its way down to the aver. So it's really the das. So he's releasing the das, but it has no kli. It has no vessel to be in. It has no vessel that it's being deposited into. It doesn't have a vessel to be deposited into. B'loy hakli shu b'chinas emuna. The kli is emuna. Why emuna? Why would he say it's emuna? I'll tell you like this. What's the first rule in Shulchan Aruch? Shulchan Aruch opens up Shivisi Hashem L'negdi Summit. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to know, you have to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you no matter where you go. You can run, but you can't hide. Yonah taught us that, right? He tried to run away from his mission in Tarshish. He tried to run away from Hashem. Hashem said, no, you don't run away. We learned that. You can't run away from Hashem. Shivisi Hashem l'nedi. Remember that Hashem is with you. That's the first and the most important prerequisite in order to fulfill any of the mitzvahs. Because if you know Hashem is with you, right, the same way a person would never do a sin if he knew that people are watching him, right? If a person knows that somebody's watching him, will he do a sin? No. Oh, but if he's all by himself, so then the person feels he can do a sin. But wait a second, is he really by himself or is he with the Rebbeinu Shalom? How can he not be with the Rebbeinu Shalom? The neshama that HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts inside of every one of us is a part of Hashem that's with us. So how can a Jew ever be alone if he has his neshama? So it's a bechina of emunah. Ayadei zeh nifkam datay v'nifshat min emunah. Through that, he pollutes his das, his intellect, v'nifshat min emunah, and he separates himself from emunah. V'yachal lovay lidei kfiras gedolos chas v'shalom, and he can come to great heresy. He can come to great denial of the Torah, chas v'shalom. Umizeh bayim kol apikarsim v'akoifrim, and that's where all the apikarsim, all the heretics, and all of those that deny the Torah, v'chein kol hacholkim al tzaddik emes, and those that make their arguments and they discharge the holy words of the tzaddikim. Shezeh gam came bechina kfira. That's also kfira. We said in the Torah, Vayaminu b'Hashem uveMoshe avdai. We believe in Hashem and the tzaddikim. We believed in Moshe, the tzaddik emes. So we don't believe. So if a person is discharging his das with the shechva zera, he's spilling his seminal seed and he's wasting it. It's not going into a kli. It doesn't have a vessel to be deposited into. What he's doing is he's disconnecting his das from the emunah. We're going to learn in a few minutes that the emunah is really the lady, right? His wife. His wife is the emunah, and when he makes the deposit into the lady, he's connecting the das together with the emunah. It's fascinating what we're going to learn here now. So pay attention, everyone, please. Shezeh gam came b'chinas fish. Ki efshel lahamin b'Hashem yisbarach b'shleimus b'lo yamunas chachamim v'tzadikim amitim. It's impossible to believe in Hashem if you don't believe in the words and the teachings of the tzaddikim. It's impossible. The same way we read every morning, right before Az Yoshia. Right before Az Yoshia, we say, Vayaminu b'Hashem u'v'Moshe avdai. We believe in Hashem and Moshe, his faithful servant. Ba'yadei pegama bris nifkam adas, and through the pegama bris, the person is polluting his mind. Vikar pegamu ma shemafshit hadas min emuna, that he's separating his das from the emuna. You have das has to be bound together with emuna. Das has to be the intellect, has to be bound, has to be based on emuna. Ki al yadei zivug de kedusha mischaber hadas im emuna. When a person has the relations with the proper person, his wife, so what he's doing is he's actually connecting the das to the emuna, and a person is increasing the emuna. Shezeh iker shleimus hadas. That's the main point of das. Ki ish ve'isha kisharshan heim bechinas das ve'emuna. The husband is considered the das, the lady is considered the emuna. The two together, you bind the emuna together with the das. And then you have true emuna and you have true das. Unbelievable. Now that's why it says, the Chazal tell us, if a person wants to learn Torah in purity, what did the Torah say? Marry a lady, marry somebody, get married, and then after you'll be able to learn Torah. Ki ha-Torah yada shezoicha lezeh al yedei zivug di kedusha, through having that bond together with the husband and the wife in the proper time. Right, that's very important, right? We started with Parshat Tazria, right? So we have the laws of separation, the laws of nida. We learn out the laws of vest, the time that comes close to the menstrual cycle, the separation. These are all part of the parameters. This is all part of the package. So if a person has, the Chazal is saying, if a person wants to learn Torah and he wants to learn Torah b'kedusha, marry somebody. Why? Because then you're unifying the das together with the emunah. And that's why today so many people are doing other things. And that's why we have so many apikorsim, because they're not binding the emunah together with the das, or they're not being nizar, they're not being careful about the laws of nida properly. So then again, you have that problem. You get the pollution in the das. And then the person separates himself from the emunah. Okay, now, but he says here, if the person has a pagam in his bris, in his holy covenant with Hashem, who mafshid das min emunah, he separates the das from the emunah. And then he comes to kfir, he comes to heresy. Hashem should protect him. Al kain al pi roiv hanoyafim heim apikarsim gedolim. And therefore, says Rab Nosson, therefore most of the people that are involved in what's the word for nayafim that we can use for having an affair, having affairs. These are the people that are apikars. These are big apikarsim, because again they don't believe that Hashem is there with them. Or those are the same people that have bad things to say about the tzaddikim. That's also kfir. Because now he's explaining why is that. Because they separated and they defiled their bris kodesh. Because they defiled the bris kodesh. Via doing that, they separated the das from him. That's the shattering of vessels. There you got shattering of vessels. And therefore they have a damaged das, and their emunah is damaged as well, because they don't have that bond. And therefore that gives them the ability to be kaifer. Right, to become a heretic and say, no Hashem. And they say, no, the tzaddikim, what do they know? I know better than the tzaddikim. And that's what people say, chas v'shalom. Unbelievable. And they think that they're great intellect. They think that they are the true intellects. They believe they have the true emunah. They believe they have the true teachings. And they understand. And they don't want to let go. They don't want to let go of that pagam, that blemish, and the crookedness, and from the impurity of the taiva of niyaf, from the taiva of having those affairs. They ask questions, and they try to ask questions in philosophy. All of this comes with pagama bris. But now Rab Nosson never leaves us hanging. And that's why it says in the Holy Zohar. Now we're in the month of Iyar now. The month of Iyar, the 18th of Iyar is Lag Ba'omer. That's the month, it's the month of Rabbi Shimon. Right? This is the month of Taurus HaNister. The Taurus HaNister started with the Zohar HaKadosh and continued with the Holy Arizal, Rav Chaim Vital, and so on and so on. So says in the Holy Zohar, Shal Pagama Bris Ein Moyel Tshuva. If a person defiles his bris, tshuva doesn't help. Scary words from the Zohar. But look what it says now. Ve'emes isa b'chol ha-svarim. But all of the svarim that came afterwards, all the svarim, shemayel tshuva gam la'avon zeh. Tshuva can work. A person shouldn't think, "Oh, I'm listening to this now," and the person knows that chas v'shalom he did what he did. He had the relationships that he shouldn't have had. He's watching the things he shouldn't watch. He's spilling seed faster than he can produce it. So he thinks, "Oy vey, I'm lost. Chas v'shalom. Chas v'shalom." No one's ever lost. The Svarim say, "Shemoyel tshuva gam la'avon zeh." Ach hakavona hi. What's the kavona? Why did Rabbi Shimon say that tshuva doesn't help? Why? Let's explain that. Ach hakavona hi shekosher loy loshav machmas shedatei nivkon ma'oid. But the problem is because he has a pagam, he blemished his das. Because he blemished his intellect. It'll be so hard for him to come back. When he wants to come back, so now we understand. Why did Rabbi Shimon say that you can't do tshuva? Because it's not likely that the person will do tshuva. Because he, again, like Reb Nosson explained to us, he was paigim the das. If he's paigim the das, he doesn't have his mind, is not connected. He doesn't have his mind. He has a blemish in his thoughts. His thoughts are polluted. So it's not likely for him to ever come back. But if a person wants to take pity on their soul, and he wants to save himself from the pits of hell, he wants to save himself from those places, chas v'sholem. So then just disengage totally from the mind. Just discharge everything that's in the mind. And disconnect all of that nonsense that's in the mind. You know, today we can understand that on the computer, right? You have on the computer, you can highlight things and you can hit what? Delete, right? You can take all your files, and sometimes they tell you have too much, you're taking up too much room on your memory, right? So what they tell you, you can clean it up. Right? You can go over to all the apps and all the different things and just highlight them and delete. This is what the Rebbe is saying over here. Person has to delete all of that garbage that he put into his head. As if he has no seichel. As if he has no seichel. Of course he has seichel, but his seichel is blemished. So he has to make himself like he doesn't have seichel. The das klal v'yismach al emunah levad. Forget about what I think. I'm going to rely on emunah. I'm going to rely on the Rabbeinu Shalom. I'm going to take cover with HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yamim Be'emes. B'Hashem is Baruch Hu Tzadikim Amitim. And then you can say, I don't understand you, Hashem. And I don't understand the Tzadikim. B'vada Yizkir Loshav El Hashem V'yirachameu El Aleikeinu. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants and He waits with bated breath for every Jew to come back. Hashem wants every Jew to come back. The person has to strengthen himself with all his might. And pour his heart out and be a nudge to Hashem. Nudge Hashem to forgive him. Because the main pagam with the pagam abris came from the emunah. Therefore, the main tikkun comes through emunah. And the main thing is to discharge all this polluted information as if he has no information at all. With simplicity. Go to Hashem with simplicity. Believe in the words of the tzaddikim with simplicity. Don't try to equate things. Don't try to qualify things. Believe in their words. The way that the most of the people have emunah without any chachma klal, that's how the simple people are. And then the person will merit to fix all of his damages that he created. V'vadei beli safek yizkeh l'tshuva shalema. A person will come to tshuva shalema. And that we all beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we should all be able to come to tshuva shalema. And it's all about being a nudge and begging HaKadosh Baruch Hu to forgive us. If we do that, and we're sincere, and we watch what we speak about others, and because again, when we speak about others, we're saying this town ain't big enough. Hashem says this town ain't big enough for me and you, right? And we bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into our lives with simplicity. And with this, I wish everyone we should have a beautiful Shabbos. And it's also Yom HaTzmaut now, Baruch Hashem. Right now we're finishing Yom HaZikaron here in Israel. And we're going to start Yom HaTzmaut. I have to go to shul right now. All right? So I wish everyone should have a wonderful, wonderful Lechtige Shabbos Kodesh. And hopefully we remember the Sfira is all about this, removing the impurity, rising up to get to the main chasna. What's the main chasna? Is Shavuos on the mountain with the Torah. Everyone be well. I'm going to end right now. Kol Tuv, everybody.